give you our address and phone number. Most time you can write or call us with your comments, because just remember
the address again is Time for Living, blah, blah, blah.
We'd also like to share some recent news with you from Attorney General Reno's office.
Janet Reno's,
who said the days when stockbrokers got a slap on the wrist for bilking investors are over.
Reno made the comment when she brought criminal charges against 17 brokers in 10 states. Reno says many of them ripped off elderly clients, and that these investment advisors are accused of forging investor checks, making unauthorized transfers of client funds, and using false or fictitious account statements.
In one case, a Los Angeles investment advisor stole more than $800,000 from primarily elderly clients.
And that unless people between 18 and 35 get in the game, they'll be picking grit with the chickens when they're 65 and just stand around blinking like a frog in a hailstorm. That's what I'm telling them.
Coming up, candid words from former Senator of Wyoming, Alan Simpson.
Making sure your foods are safe and clean in the summer heat.
How to get the most out of your travel plans no matter where you want to go. All this and more next on Time for Living. Welcome to Time for Living. I'm Howard Nielsen.
And I'm Janet Jagalian. We've got lots of information for you today. We'll tell you how to keep your food safe this summer.
And you'll find out how to leave a personal history for your children and grandchildren in your own words.
And you'll learn how to make sure your next trip is exactly the way you want it. But first, we'd like to share my interview with former Senator of Wyoming, Alan Simpson. First, some background. Alan Simpson comes from a family of lawyers following in his grandfather and father's footsteps. Alan Simpson practiced law for 18 years. He also followed in his father's footsteps in the political arena, serving in the Wyoming House of Representatives for 13 years before becoming Wyoming's U.S. Senator from 1979 to 1997. His father served in the Senate for 4 years, and earlier this week I had the opportunity to talk with the former Senator of Wyoming at Harvard's John F. Kennedy School of Government, where he's currently a visiting professor occupying the Lombard Chair at the JFK School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. During that conversation, he talked candidly about issues that affect older Americans and younger ones too. In fact, he talks directly to our viewers about what he thinks their responsibilities are regarding Social Security, Medicare, and the future of our country's economic situation. Here's part one of my two-part interview with Alan Simpson. As a former member of the Senate Finance Committee, you had a responsibility of oversight and jurisdiction when it came to many of the entitlement programs. And these, of course, are the areas that concern the older American: Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, health care. These are all things that you're very familiar with. So I thought perhaps you could give us your perspective of where things stand currently with Medicare. We hear that in 4 years it'll be insolvent. Is there any truth to that?
Well, yeah, because that's what the trustees of the program are telling us, so we ought to pay attention to it. There's an old song of the earlier day that denial is not a river in Africa. This is the most extraordinary thing I have ever seen, and because I was on the Entitlements Commission with Jack Danforth and Bob Carey. There were 32 of us on the commission. 30 of us agreed that this is the scenario for the United States. Now, we didn't agree on what to do about it, but 30 of the 32 signed off on this, that in the year 2012, there will only be sufficient revenue coming into the United States Treasury to pay for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, federal retirement, and interest on the debt. There will be nothing, zip. for education, transportation, defense, WIC, WIN, Head Start, NEA, NEH, or any other discretionary program of the government. And that's the judgment of Pat Moynihan, Dale Bumpers, Al Simpson, Tom Downey, right.
So it's based on reality.
It's based on the trustees. I can give you a book, Janet, that is from the trustees of the program of Social Security and Medicare, which describes that. And so now we're going to do the balanced budget amendment, and that'll work because they found $200 billion under the rug somewhere, so you can't miss doing this now. And then in the year, and we will have saved Medicare. Won't go broke in the year 2003.
But that's if all goes well according
Sure.
to the formula.
Yeah.
And there are probably a lot of obstacles in the way of having that happen.
Yeah.
But we understand that now there are changes that have been put into the current legislation that will have an impact. Whether it's on the provider of the service or whether it's on the recipient is a question that looms large.
I tell you what I have to say to people so I don't get stoned or they beat me up with rolled up copies of Modern Maturity. Anything we're suggesting as a change is not going to affect anyone over 55, and they are the ones most resistive, and I must say it's offensive. Everything we are suggesting, Bob Kerrey, a Democrat, Al Simpson, Judd Gregg, a bro from a Democrat from Louisiana, John Chafee, wonderful guy, all of the things we're suggesting to bring back long-term solvency to Social Security and Medicare don't affect anybody over 55, and that's the only people who write to
And
it.
why is that? Is it because that's where the
it's so
baby boomers-
incremental.
Yes.
If we can just start doing $7 a month, not on these people, but somewhere down, if we can begin to affluence test the COLAs. Now forget affluence testing the benefits. I've heard that one, and
Yes.
they love to distort that. We're talking, and some say that we should affluence test the benefits, and maybe that'll have to come too, unless you want a broken program. So you affluence test the cost of living allowance. And right now, you have a situation in America where Part B premiums, that's physician reimbursement,
Yes.
durable goods, the richest people in our society are paying only 25% of that premium, and we can't change that.
Why is it? Why can't that be changed?
Because the senior groups get together and beat our brains out. That's why.
But they must also recognize what numbers show and what this means in terms of providing the greatest amount of service for the greatest number of people down the road.
Well, then why don't they get in the game? I mean, I was 18 years in the U.S. Senate. Every time we tried to do a balanced budget amendment, the senior groups, I won't target any, I'd like to target one, and maybe that'll be another program. The seniors say, oh, the balanced budget amendment will take away $8.42 from your, and where they get the figures is from the moon.
But Senator, we've been told over and over again that it's because of the abuses of the system that we're being confronted with this dilemma of running short.
Well, I don't know how you could call it abuses when the people loved it. It was educating children up to the age of 22, so that if you had, it didn't matter your net worth or your income. If your father died on Social Security, we had to get rid of that. It was breaking the bank.
No, I was speaking more of Medicare and the
Disability.
abuses that have taken place in Medicare, the double billing, the physicians who perhaps were not as honorable in their fee-for-service opportunities, and also the fact that perhaps there were other areas where people were not being honest
I think
because of the entitlement aspect. And
Well-
if that were to be cleaned up, would that make a significant difference?
that would be about like a sparrow belch in the middle of a typhoon as to what we have to do. If you can't understand that the program is growing at the rate of 10% per year, and it's the largest growing program in the United States, and if we can't understand that the trustees of the Social Security system are telling us that the program will be broke in the year 2029, and when we saved it back in the 80s, they said this will last now till 2063. You follow this. Well, they've moved the drop-dead date from 2063 to 2029 in 14 years.
Well, does it mean that we're going to see more managed care types approaches if we don't follow the direction that you're offering at the Senate level?
I guess I have to be specific of what the directions are so that people don't, just clutch their
Misunderstand.
coffee cup and
Right.
pitch into their breakfast food. And you have to be serious with them, because I think most Americans really do care about their children and their grandchildren, and some senior groups obviously care nothing for them, or they would help us do something in incremental form. So what we propose with Social Security is to increase the retirement age from 65 to 70. And we're not talking about doing that to coal miners and workers,
Right.
but doing it over 20 years.
And I think many people would opt to work longer.
I think they would.
Yes.
I know that I'm not even thinking of retirement, and I'm not thinking of Social Security. But if I were, I would get $1,140 a month, and I'd put in peanuts, and so has every other 65-year-old cat in this country. My first few years of Social Security, I put in $5, and then I went to the Army, and you didn't have to put in anything.
Right.
And for 18 years of practicing law, during the most productive time of my life, I never put in over $874 a year, and neither did anyone else watching this program, because there was a limit. You didn't pay over that. And now finally I'm paying about $6,600 or $7,000 per year for Medicare and Social Security. I'll get all mine back in
Do you
4
think
to 6 years.
would companies want their 65-year-olds to hang around for 5 more years, especially with their pay scales
Well, the young
rising?
people wouldn't have any part of that. That'd be the generational struggle of the ages. Just say you cats can't stay in there and take the big salaries while I'm working my way up.
So they're going
and
to
I
have
got
to
the little
find
family.
other forms of employment, perhaps entrepreneurial kinds of things.
Well, I think we
Teaching at Harvard.
Yeah, but the point is, when we think of seniors, we're thinking of the most beautiful phrases of seniors. We're thinking of dear, gentle people working and being productive. I like that idea, but I've turned my gaze from them to the issue of the children and the grandchildren. So what we want to do, we want to affluence test the cost of living allowance. You can't own a home in Sun City and a cabin in the mountains and a couple of cars and pretend that the COLA is keeping you from starvation.
True.
You can't pretend that the discount to the senior citizen is the difference between whether you join a different golf club. We're trying to do some sensible things, and every time we try it, we get hammered flat because of the power of the senior group.
We're talking with Senator Alan Simpson, and we're going to be talking about some of the other issues that are surfacing in Washington that are of great interest to the older Americans. So stay with us. We'll be right back. continue our conversation with Senator Alan Simpson here at the John F. Kennedy School of Government in Cambridge. In our first segment, we talked about health care and Social Security and the gravity of the future. But now let's talk about what is currently going on in Washington and your perspective of understanding of what is happening. The budget agreement, was it a surprise to you to see that this came about with such ease?
No, not when you found out that because of the revenues coming in and the state of the economy that they found money they didn't know they had before. And it's something like a cushion in the 5-year period of 150 to 200 billion. So that means you can get over all the rough edges. I want to pay tribute to Pete Domenici and Frank Lautenberg, a Democrat and Republican, who are the Budget Committee ranking member and chair. They've put something together which gives a little to everything. Gives the president, takes the heat off of him.
It makes him look good too.
Well, there isn't anything that won't be done in Washington that won't make the president look good, because if it ain't good, he'll make it look good. And that's Bill Clinton. He goes to bed at night and sleeps like a baby, and there ain't nothing any of us can do
Even
about
with Ken Starr knocking at his door.
Forget it. The wolves could be out there, the dragons from the cliffs, the harpies from the hills, and he never bruise him at all.
That's incredible, especially when you think of how much money has been spent on Ken Starr's investigations and the fact that it continues. And every once in a while, something surfaces that appears to be somewhat damaging, but it goes away.
But Janet, you notice, and you follow these things, you notice every time there's an article on the right-hand page about Starr has found something, go across the page and here's a picture of the president holding a flood victim.
Yes.
Or a tornado victim. He's got his jeans on, he's out there, and he cares. That's real. That's not, I don't think that's phony. But holy smokes.
But that's the nature of politics,
you can't
right?
lay a glove on this guy. Forget it. I'd say to the guys, don't lose any more sleep. Don't get BO, gas, heartburn. Just give it up.
What about this the need for campaign reform and all of the to-do or the fuss about the foreign contributions that were made? Is it now because fingers are being pointed in both directions that this is not going to go very far?
No, it's not going to go very far because of a very adept politician named Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, who already has quite a group of groups gathered together, saying that this is an assault on the First Amendment. This is an assault on a person's right of expression, and as long as that goofy court decision lies there where you can spend yourself into oblivion as a First Amendment right of the freedom of expression through speech, I mean, we're never going to get over that hurdle.
That aspect of the judgment as well has, I think, a tremendous impact on the people who run for public office. You're really at a tremendous loss unless you are of great wealth. And it's not fair. It's not really representative government.
And it's a person like you who is courageous enough to do something that no one that hasn't done this understands. That's your name that's out there, and people are accepting it or rejecting it. That's pretty scary. So when I hear from people who love to babble into the vapors about those of us who do the heavy lifting, I say, go put your name on a ballot, Buster, and see how it works, and take it in the ear and see what goes.
Do you think there might be some change, or will this be perpetuated?
No, I think there will be some change. Bill Bradley and I are joining, it will be announced next week, a national group to direct ourselves to campaign reform. We don't know quite what, but the two of us are willing to lend our names and whatever energies we have to it. But let me go back to one thing about the balanced budget.
Yes.
That's going to work. They're going to use some fairly good figures. They're going to do a little capital gains. They're going to give this back, and they're going to get all this done. But when it's all done and the budget is, quote, balanced in 5 years, the debt will have gone from 5.4 trillion to 6.4 trillion.
Well, that's not what you're supposed to have happen.
Well, sure, but see, that's where everybody, that's where the media fails, and let me tell you, the media really fails. Because all you have done is balance the budget, which means that the income matches the outgo.
Yeah.
The debt, because of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, interest on the debt, will go up $1 trillion at the end of the 5 years, and we'll still be sitting digging ourselves
Well, what about all
up.
this deficit reduction talk, and that we're doing so well with it? The economy is doing so well, therefore it's going to resolve our debt problems.
But we're not talking about the debt, we're talking about the deficit.
Which is...
The deficit will be zero, which means what came in, went out, and it was equal. The debt, meanwhile, will continue to climb unabated because we won't do anything with the biggest program.
And unless we begin to follow the wiser path and begin to do something meaningful about not spending as much money, or perhaps spending our money more wisely for these entitlement programs, this is going to be continuing.
Well, you can't let a program grow at 10% unabated. So what did we try to do? What did we try to do? We tried to say, we can't let it go up 10.5%. We're going to let it go up 7.1%. And what happened?
Everyone said that was a cut.
Described as a cut.
Yes.
The president at one time was ready to go for a reduction, letting it go up 7.9, but when the Republicans stepped over the cliff with 7.1, he stepped back. We were in a free fall and then got cute and closed the government, which is about the stupidest thing the Republican Party ever did.
So what are you teaching the students here?
I'm teaching about real life, that they better get in the game. And that unless people between 18 and 35 get in the game, they'll be picking grit with the chickens when they're 65 and just stand around blinking like a frog in a hailstorm. That's what I'm telling them. And it's so phony to me to hear the senior citizens group try to pretend that everyone over 65 is somehow foraging in an alley for their livelihood.
What do you want? What would you like the older American to do now? How can they get involved directly?
Start paying attention to honest figures. Go read the Entitlements Commission report. I always get these guys who show up in the town meeting. They got a book in their hand from some screwball outfit. I say, go read the Entitlements Commission report, then go read the trustees report of the Social Security Medicare system, which is not written by right-wing cuckoos or left-wing cuckoos.
But is it easy reading for the average person?
It's easy reading. It means you start paying attention. It is a democracy. If you just want to sit there and listen to some group who's interested in your $8 a year, so they can run up 33 million members, so they can go in your office, and they're bound together by a common love of airline discounts and auto discounts and RV discounts, and that's the AARP, a total irresponsible organization. I'd love to hear from any of them. Just write me and ask me where I can join you for a debate with any forum, anywhere, under any circumstance.
Perhaps we can provide that opportunity right here sometime.
You'll never find me. They won't come out at all. They're embarrassed. A lot of people are embarrassed. I'm a member of the AARP. I stay in there to see what they're doing. I can't believe what they're doing. They want long-term health care for everyone in the U.S., regardless of your net worth or your income. My brother and I took care of our parents who lived to be 93 and 95 and did it ourselves because we felt they made it. Do you know what that cost us a year?
Of course.
$125,000. And that's before the insurer and the depends and the other things, because that's called $8 an hour.
But it's the 90s now, and life has changed, and people are working, and it's very difficult for people of this generation to begin to think the way you thought, or that I might think.
Let's take care of those people, but let's kick people off of there who are
able to care for themselves.
Golden parachute and paying only 25% of the premium on Part B. That's stupefying.
Well, there's the challenge, and we thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of this wonderful information, and we do hope to see you again.
Well, you'll never see me again. I'll just say you'll be finding me in the alley with beat up with rolled up copies of Modern Maturity.
I hardly think that's true.
That was a great interview. That was terrific. He is
incredible.
Boy, he doesn't pull any punches. And he raises a lot of interesting issues.
He's a wonderful person to interview, and I do hope we'll be able to speak with him again. When Time for Living continues, turning a simple tape recorder into a legacy to leave behind. This week's Second Effort Salute, then we come back.
Welcome back to Time for Living. Have you ever looked at an old tintype photograph of one of your ancestors and wondered what his or her life was really like?
Well, imagine if you could hear them in your own words, tell you who they were and what their life experiences were. Now, that's the idea behind Kevin O'Sullivan's audio tintypes. And John Nestor shows us why Kevin gets this week's Second Effort Salute.
I've learned that one of the treasures of life is a family.
Virgil Razak's life began on a farm in Collier, Kansas, the year 1920.
Virgil, as historians look back at that time, they read about flappers and tin lizzies and speakeasies. What are your memories of your first 10 years growing up in Collier, Kansas?
Well, I certainly don't remember any speakeasies. There were none in Collier, Kansas that I knew of. But I remember the farm.
It's all being recorded on audio cassette, the life of a retired aerospace engineer, the milestones, the anecdotes. It's sort of a hobby for the interviewer, management consultant Kevin O'Sullivan. He calls them audio tintypes.
It's one of my favorite subjects. The notion of capturing people's lives, capturing their oral history while they're still bright with lots of stories to tell before those stories are lost.
You have some that...
As they listened, Virgil's grown-up children learned things even they didn't know.
It's nice to know what makes my father the person he is, what the backgrounds are, and what has gone into him to make him the man that I love.
The family looks forward to sharing their audio tintype with the grandchildren and generations to come. It's a talking family portrait, a celebration of life.
Yeah, I've been blessed.
I'm John Nestor reporting.
If you have anyone you think deserves a Second Effort Salute, then write to us here at Time for Living, care of Second Effort Salute, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114.
Or you can leave your comments or questions on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213 or fax us at 617-329-1774. We'd love to hear from you. When Time for Living continues, how to get the most out of your traveling destination before you take your trip, so stay with us. Welcome back to Time for Living. When it comes to traveling, sometimes we don't always get what we pay for.
While this could be the travel agent's fault or even the hotel's, another culprit could be the traveler. We don't articulate what we want, or if we don't listen to suggestions from the travel professional, then we have nobody to blame but ourselves. Steve Brown looks at some travel issues in this week's Traveling Around.
You see them at the airport. You see them on board cruise ships. You can even find them in the spice markets of Morocco. Older Americans are packing their bags and heading off to all corners of the world. This crowd really loves to travel.
It's wonderful. I mean, my husband and I were very fortunate. We married 54 years, and we travel a lot. We go to Nevada. We have a daughter in Nevada. We have a daughter in Hawaii, and we have a son in Bel Air.
See the world, see new people, education. I love it.
I love to travel.
Why?
Well, I feel free and not tied down, and I think it's a great lifestyle.
So just where are all these people going? Practically everywhere. A recent survey showed that nearly half of the Americans traveling overseas were over the age of 50. The top foreign destinations include Canada, England, Germany, France, and Italy. Here in the U.S., the #1 destination is Orlando, Florida. With more time on their hands, older Americans are looking for interesting, educational, and exotic places to go.
If you notice, senior travelers' packages always are like for a lot more time than what we can do. We might have
Sandra Shapiro is executive editor and travel writer for the Senior Advocate newspaper. She's been watching senior travel trends for years. She says the two main trends for older travelers are the educational and adventured vacation.
You're seeing some of these special travel companies that have come into existence, and if you really look through their brochures, you notice a lot of Machu Picchu, Egypt, but it's not just in a bus driving around, it's hiking, it's exercise. That's also another trend that I'm seeing.
Shapiro says one of the hottest destinations for older travelers is the new Disney Institute in Florida.
It's incredible, and it's right now they're offering some really good bargains. I think it's around $425, $450, and you get your doesn't include plane, but it includes your room and all your courses, and it's for like 3 days, and I think you get a day pass to the parks, and that is phenomenal.
The Disney Institute is just one vacation destination designed with the older traveler in mind. There you can enroll in various workshops, everything from cooking to gardening to animation to television production.
2, 1, roll.
So why are older people bitten by the travel bug? Two things really help: the freedom of having time to go and the offer of senior discounts.
Always ask. I mean, have the guts. Just say, do you offer a senior discount? The other thing is that more and more travel agents and tour companies are getting very savvy, and they know on off seasons that they know that retirees have the time to go on these trips, so they will specifically advertise discounts for older people. But the best thing to do is, hey, I always ask.
There are a great number of senior discounts.
Mike Sertic is a travel agent with American Express Travel Services.
When you define a senior in terms of senior discounts, there isn't a sort of specific age that determines whether you get the discount or not. But most airlines, I suppose, almost everybody has a discount for people 62 and over.
Sertic says a travel agent should be your first stop in planning the perfect vacation.
They come in doing a little bit too much homework and knowing a little bit too much what they think they want to do, and they're sort of biased towards, well, you know, my friend Sammy did this last week and I want to do it this week. So I guess if you've been someplace every other year for the last 30 years, that's fine. You might want to go back there, but you might want to look for a little variety too, and a little, you know, the world is changing and the travel opportunities are changing. So I guess just come in with the ability to change your mind a little bit.
Sertic says that once you determine where you want to go, then you can start researching your destination.
I don't know that it is a good use of time for somebody to do a lot of bookwork in the beginning. I mean, we've got tons of brochures and that sort of thing that can give them a general idea of what's available, then they can go back to the books and to the libraries and the tour guides and stuff like that, and learn a little bit more about a destination.
There's no shortage of travel books. At this Barnes & Noble store, there are shelves and shelves of books about virtually every travel destination. There are even some books written specifically for the older traveler. So no matter where you'd like to go, read up, call your travel agent, and head off for your vacation of a lifetime. I'm Steve Brown. Time for Living.
If you have any questions regarding any travel destinations you've seen on Time for Living, then write to us here at Time for Living, care of Travelin' Around, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114.
Or you can leave your comments or questions on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213 or fax us at 617-329-1774. We'd really love to hear from you.
When we come back, Steve Burke takes a look at life insurance and all the choices we need to make. Stay with us. Oh, I see. They got a new
I go to camera 2.
Welcome back to Time for Living. When it comes to understanding life insurance, the most frequently asked questions are how much and what kind. Well, since we've had some questions about life insurance from some of you, it seemed appropriate to give basic information about the different types of life insurance and how each one works to your advantage.
Now, there are 3 major areas in which you'll find life insurance, and each is quite straightforward and can be tailored to your needs, which means you can mix and match coverage so it fits you like a well-tailored suit. Like so many things these days, life insurance has gone through quite a few changes, but happily, the changes fit most families and individuals better than ever before. In the first part of this 2-part Health, Finance, and More, Steve Burke clarifies the choices and what to consider.
The 3 general areas to be aware of are fixed cost, variable cost, and minimal cost. Before you all yell, "Show me minimal cost," let me give you some idea of how each works, and then you can decide what is best for you and your family. Fixed costs let you know in advance what your premium will be, year to year, so you can budget it. Ordinary life, 20-pay life, paid up at 65 are examples of this. There are other policies which have specific times and/or premiums which you can be guaranteed by the insurance company involved. And also, some types of term insurance will also offer a fixed premium for a specific time. The difference in this case between term insurance and cash value insurance, as it is called, is just that, cash. Ordinary life, 20-payment life, life paid up at 65, etc., have cash values. Generally, the insurance company has guarantees so you know what the cash will be in years to come. Next is variable cost. This means what it says. The premium and cash values may vary. You may have heard that this type of policy referred to as universal life. The newest variable cost policy is called just that, variable life. In both cases, universal and variable life, The cost depends upon changing interest rates or changes in the stock market. In other words, they're going to vary. If all goes well with the interest performance or the stock market, this type of coverage can be a better deal than the more conservative fixed cost life policies. Generally, these variable cost policies are more attractive to younger people who have the time to ride out the changes in interest rates and the stock market. Finally, there are minimal cost policies which are made up of group insurance, life coverage, or policies where an employer pays all or some of the premium. This obviously reduces the premium paid by the insured to a minimum. And as mentioned earlier, term insurance can have a low cost for a period of time. However, in the case of term insurance over a long period of time, it can be the most expensive coverage. As you can see, life insurance isn't very complicated because there really are only three variations, like buying a car. If you want a certain variation on the basic car, it changes the price and the way it looks or works. Example, four-wheel drive. And remember what was said earlier, you can mix and match. In the next segment, we will cover examples how you should select the type of policy best for you. In other words, what kind of life insurance should you buy, depending upon your age and financial situation. But before we go, let's try a quick review. Term insurance is cheap initially and can have a predictable premium for a period, a term of time. Expensive over a long time. Variable cost life depends on changing elements such as interest rates or the stock market. When the concept works, it's great, but there are not a lot of guarantees. Finally, fixed cost life insurance, 20 pay, and life paid up at 65 as examples, are not very flashy, but you know what your premium will be and what cash will be available in the years ahead. Next time, we'll talk about who should buy insurance, older or younger, and what kind. For now, I'm Steve Burke, Time for Living.
If you have any questions regarding any financial topics discussed on Time for Living, then write to Steve Burke at Time for Living, care of Health, Finance, and More, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114.
Or you can leave your comments or questions on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213 or fax us at 617-329-1774. We'd love to hear from you.
When Time for Living continues, ways to make sure your summer food stays fresh and clean. Stay with us. Welcome back to Time for Living. The Clinton administration recently announced plans to initiate an all-out assault to improve food safety.
And with summertime fast approaching, picnics, grilling, and warm temperatures, it's a good time to think about some food safety basics. Mary Norton has some food for thought.
It's that time of year. Picnics, barbecues, potluck suppers. A time to enjoy meals, but also a time to remember the dangers of leaving food out.
Microorganisms really like the temperatures between 40 degrees and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's a nice breeding ground for bacteria. And in the summertime, our temperatures are right at that range.
Officials recommend using smaller dishes of food and adding to them as needed. Don't keep the food outside longer than 2 hours. When grilling, you want to avoid cross-contamination.
One of the most common problems that we see is cross-contamination, where a man or a woman who likes to grill out may take the plate of steaks to the grill, cook the steaks, and then put the steaks back on the plate with the raw meat drippings on it.
This spotless-looking kitchen is actually crawling with dirty little secrets.
The Food and Drug Administration produced this video as a reminder on how to safely store and prepare food. And while children are often the victims of foodborne illnesses, older adults too are vulnerable.
As people age, sometimes their immune system isn't quite as effective as it was when they were younger. So it's good to take precautions and to cook your food thoroughly.
Cook thoroughly and wash your hands often, especially when working with raw foods. I'm Mary Norton reporting.
So remember to make sure you don't leave your food outside for more than 2 hours.
And don't put cooked food back onto the same plate raw food was sitting on.
We now turn to another health issue, smoking. Many older adults began smoking cigarettes when they were younger, some even in childhood. But now that they have reached their 60s or beyond and hear the hoopla to keep children from starting to smoke, they may think that stopping is irrelevant in their own lives or that they've already beaten the odds.
But in fact, data from the early 1990s estimates that 17% of men and 13% of women over the age of 65 continue to smoke. Well, this translates into approximately 4.5 million Americans. And by the time the smokers reach their 8th decade of life, male smokers have averaged 18 to 20 cigarettes a day for about 50 years or more. And women average 15 to 20 cigarettes per day for about 45 to 50 years. So what's the point of stopping now? Dr. Alan Abrams tells us in this week's Medical Minute.
As far back as 1976, it was known that smoking cigarettes increased the risk of dying by 50% in people over the age of 70. Since then, many studies have verified the fact that continued smoking in the later years increases the risk of death from a variety of causes, including cancer of the lung, esophagus, lip, oral cavity and throat, pancreas, kidney, and bladder. It also increases the likelihood of dying from emphysema, heart attack, and stroke. But what's in it for older people who might be interested in smoking cessation after a lifetime of smoking? First, lung function can be improved, or the rate of decline slowed for people with or without established emphysema upon the cessation of smoking. Second, there is a common experience of decrease in symptoms, improvements in shortness of breath, coughing, wheezing, and phlegm production when people over 65 decide to quit. Third, former smokers within a few years of quitting experience lower rates of pneumonia and flu-related events, including hospitalizations and deaths. Fourth, smoking cessation decreases the rate of the development of osteoporosis, which leads to hip fracture and disability. Fifth, when you stop smoking, you decrease your chance of developing cancer, all of the types mentioned before. Sixth, your enjoyment of food improves as your taste buds recover. Seventh, smoking cessation markedly reduces your chance of a heart attack or stroke. This benefit begins within the first year you quit. While continued smoking is associated with an increased risk of loss of mobility and poorer physical functioning, former smokers are found to have higher qualities of life than those that continue in their later years. What's in it for you is a longer, healthier, more energetic life. Ask your doctor what programs are available to help you stop now, no matter how long you have been smoking and no matter what age you are. I wonder if you knew how much good it can do to stop even in your later years. This is Dr. Alan Abrams with your Medical Minute.
If you have any questions regarding any medical topics discussed on Time for Living, then write to Dr. Alan Abrams at Time for Living, care of Medical Minute, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114.
Or you can leave your comments or questions on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213 or fax us at 617-329-1774. We'd love to hear from you.
We will have more Time for Living when we come back, so stay with us. Welcome back. Before we say goodbye, we'd like to give you our address and phone numbers one last time so you can write or call us with your questions, comments, or suggestions. Because remember, this show is not only for you, it is about you.
The address again is Time for Living, P.O. Box 8452, Boston, Massachusetts, 02114, or send a fax to 617-329-1774. If you don't feel like writing, you can leave us a message on our voicemail by calling 800-232-7213.
We'd also like to share some recent news with you from Attorney General Janet Reno's office, who said the days when stockbrokers got a slap on the wrist for bilking investors are over.
Reno made the comment when she brought criminal charges against 17 brokers in 10 states. Reno says many of them ripped off elderly clients and that these investment advisors are accused of forging investor checks, making unauthorized transfers of client funds, and using false or fictitious account statements.
In one case, a Los Angeles investment advisor stole more than $800,000 from primarily elderly clients, including an investor in her 70s who entrusted him with her life savings. So please be careful who you give your money or personal information to. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's show, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. And we certainly have more interesting people and places to introduce you to. Until then, remember,
it's time for living. Take care.
Goodbye.